This has always been the left's biggest Achilles heel, is that they're incapable of understanding their opponents. And if you don't understand your opponents, you're hopeless. Over the past few months, there's a phrase, a term that started popping up in headlines. And the term is dark woke, is the term. And this is a new form of wokeness that has emerged. It's called dark woke. And the media is very excited about it. They're very excited about this. This is perhaps the answer to countering Donald Trump and MAGA. They've not been able to come up with an answer over 10 years. What's their answer? And they think they've finally landed on it. And they're calling it dark woke. And now the New York Times has a long think piece on the topic. Headline, what is dark woke? Democrats are trying out a new attitude. It's provocative, edgy, and perilously towing the line of not being too offensive. Sounds exciting. Provocative, edgy. It's been a long time since we got anything like that on the left, anything that could be called provocative or edgy from the left. So here's what the article says. There was a time last summer when the Democratic Party was cool. Kamala Harris had just stepped in as Democrat Party nominee for president in the waning days of brat summer. She went on the popular podcast Call Her Daddy. Tim Walz's outdoorsy drip led to a Chapel Roan-inspired camo trucker hat. The memes were flowing, and the party's mood was high. Now, just to cut in here, we haven't even gotten to dark woke yet, but just to cut in just for a moment, to clarify, editor's note, the Democratic Party was not cool during that time. Okay, so you say that there was a time last summer when the Democrat Party was cool. No, there wasn't. That time didn't exist. No, it thought it was cool, but that's a very different thing. In fact, thinking you're cool and being cool are not only different things, but like opposite things. Or I should say, the Democratic Party was trying hard to be cool. And that was all the memes and the trucker hat and the brat summer stuff and this and that and the whatever it was with the coconut tree and the TikTok videos. I don't even know. Trying hard to be cool. But being cool and trying hard to be cool are definitely opposite things. The essence of being cool is not trying to be cool, right? That's like the paradox of coolness, is that the moment you try to be it, you aren't it. The only people who can be cool are people who aren't trying to be cool. Every attempt fails by definition. Cool is perhaps it's like a riddle. That's like what's the one thing you can become but cannot try to become? And that's cool. Someone can become cool, they can be cool, but you can't try, you can't attempt it. You can't say, you know what, I'm gonna give being cool a shot. Let's try this out. Let's give this a spin. Already you're not cool. It's like no matter what happens next, you're not cool just because of the way that you approached it. So anyway, back to the article. As liberals try to get their groove back, some party insiders say Democratic politicians have been encouraged to embrace a new form of combative rhetoric aimed at winning back voters who have responded to President Trump's no holds barred version of politics. It's an attempt to step outside the bounds of political correctness that Republicans have accused Democrats of establishing, and requires being crass but discerning, rude but only to a point. Online, it has a name, dark woke. Republicans have essentially put Democrats in a respectability prison, said Bhavik Lathia, a communications consultant and former digital director for the Wisconsin Democratic Party. There's an extreme imbalance in strategy that allows Republicans to say stuff that really grabs voters' attention, while we're stuck with boring pablum. I see this as a strategic shift within Democratic messaging. I'm a big fan of dark woke. Dark woke for now is a meme that lives mostly online, but its roots have been sown throughout the party for years. In the waning days of the Biden administration, memes about Dark Brandon often referred to the version of the former president that conservatives most feared. Outside the party, the dirtbag left, the term for a cohort of leftist provocateurs, inspired headlines for their unrestrained derision of conservatives and liberals alike. Okay, so, first of all, the idea that the Democrat, you hear this from Democrats all the time, that this fantasy that, they're in a respectability prison, that they're held to this standard of being respectable, that Republicans aren't. The truth, of course, is exactly the opposite. We talked about this, yesterday, 2 days ago, that you've got liberals right now on a nationwide campaign, for instance, of vandalizing and destroying Teslas because they don't like the guy that owns Tesla. They're celebrating the massive drop in profits, the stock hit. The DAs are refusing to prosecute. Like, really? That's your respectability prison? Really? That's your problem? Is that you're too respectable? Okay, like, this is the side that not too long ago was setting entire city blocks on fire because you were upset. So, like, I don't think that's your issue. But this is what they're claiming, that Democrats have this problem, and they've started to get more aggressive and more confrontational because they weren't already, right? With the rioting and destroying vehicles and all that, like they weren't already aggressive and confrontational enough. But that's what they're doing. They're offering Jasmine. They offered Jasmine Crockett is given as an example in this article, and this is dark woke. And the New York Times says that it may just save the party. This is the party's redemption, is dark woke. Now, the problem is that this is all an attempt to basically mimic what they think they see on the right, but they don't understand what they're seeing. This has always been the left's biggest, their downfall, really. Their Achilles heel is that they are incapable of understanding their opponents. And if you don't understand your opponents, you're hopeless. You're going to lose. So they don't understand what they're seeing. For one thing, it's the reason why the people on the right who have achieved popularity and influence, whether we're talking about Donald Trump all the way at the top or podcasters or anybody in between, they've achieved it not because they're crass and confrontational and insulting. That may be part of, that may be a personality trait of some of them, right? But we know that Donald Trump has a tendency to insult people he doesn't like. There's also people that are sort of at least perceived as being on the right, being kind of right-wing, part of the right-wing podcast sphere, who don't do that at all. Like Theo Vaughn, for example. Now, he might use profanity, but he's not insulting. This is not an insulting. He's like a really nice guy. Seems like it anyway. It's actually part of his brand. Is not really being insulting at all. So that's not it. You don't have to be insulting. Here's what it is. Again, if I'm doing Democrats a favor by explaining things to them, it doesn't matter because they won't listen to me anyway. Which is part of your problem. Is like you don't understand us, and even when we try to help you out, which we shouldn't even do, by explaining to you, it's like we'll explain ourselves to you so you actually understand it. You still won't listen. I am someone on the right, and I'm trying to explain to you how it works. And if you're on the left, you'll just tune this out. You say, well, what do you know? Don't listen to him. So, for what it's worth, which I guess is not much, the way that they have achieved this popularity is not simply by being crass or insulting or anything. It's through authenticity. Okay, this is the fundamental thing that has always made Trump so appealing, is that he's being authentic. He came onto the political scene and he was exactly the same guy there as he had been for decades. And for him, yeah, he can be kind of crass, kind of profane. He can start insulting people. He can do all that. But it's not that alone. So this is what people have been that try to mimic that. It's all, this was his formula. No, the reason why it works for him is just because that's who he is. And it resonated with people not because they were so impressed that, oh, look, here's a presidential candidate who used the S word. It's not that. It's just like, well, that's the kind of guy he is. That's how he speaks, and he's speaking like this now, and he hasn't changed just because he's running for president, and we respect that. So whether you hate or love Trump, whether you hate or love the guy, he's just being who he is. And it's the same thing with the podcasts that are most popular. What makes them popular is the authenticity. It's a format where it kind of naturally strips away the sheen and the gloss, and you're left with real people having actual human conversations and saying what they really think about things. So if you're on the left and you're looking at this and you're studying it like some kind of mathematical equation, and then you're trying to follow the same formula, you've already lost. It's not going to work. The formula is that there is no formula. Donald Trump doesn't have a formula. He's the least formulaic politician that's ever existed. The formula is just himself. Joe Rogan is not trying to follow a formula. He's just having conversations with people who interest him. He's exploring things he finds interesting with people who he thinks are interesting. That's it. That's the whole formula. That's actually it. Theo Vaughn, as I just mentioned, what's his formula? There isn't one. He's a curious guy who's also very funny, and that's it. It's not a formula. It's just who he is. And so they're trying to copy a formula, but the formula is, again, that there is no formula. And then you have to deal with the actual substance. And one of the things, again, that makes right-wing podcasts and the MAGA movement generally popular is that these are people who are saying the things that lots of people think but aren't supposed to say. Okay, how do I get away with saying all the stuff that I say all the time? Well, first of all, it's what I actually believe. And the audience knows that I'm just being honest. I'm telling you what I believe. So whenever there's a big controversy and people get upset and they're saying, "Oh, can you believe what Matt Walsh said?" My audience hears that and says, "Yeah, so what? It's what he thinks. You don't have to think the same thing, but it's what he thinks. So what's the big deal?" But also leaving aside, at least for me personally, leaving aside some of my more bizarre tangents, generally, the things that I say out loud are the things that millions of people have already said out loud in their living rooms to their families and to their friends. And that's the case for almost anybody on the right with any size platform. Much of our success is due not to trying to be edgy, but almost the opposite. It's due to the fact that most of what we say is stuff that hundreds of millions, if not billions of people believe. It's the stuff that everyone believes, but you're not supposed to say. You know, when I got in trouble with after the Austin Metcalf stabbing, saying that, well, everyone already knew the assailant was a young black male. Even though there was a controversy around that, everyone in my audience heard it and said, "Well, yeah, I mean, we all think that." Okay, so let's be real. Let's be honest. We all think that. Now, over on the left, and this is why dark woke just doesn't work. With leftism, it's all about saying things that nobody really believes. So on the right, we say what everyone believes, but you're not supposed to say. On the left, they say what nobody believes, but you are supposed to say. It's the stuff that people believe versus the stuff that people pretend to believe. There is no dark woke version of that. There is no edgy way, right, to go about that. There is no edgy way to avoid the basic truths of life, which is what wokeness is. It just can't exist. You cannot be woke and edgy. You cannot be woke and provocative. You can be woke and use profanity, right? You could be Jasmine Crockett, using profanity and screaming and yelling and all this kind of stuff. But that doesn't resonate with people. Because the problem is that you cannot be woke and honest. That's the point. If there's one word that could describe why podcasts are so popular, it's that word. We already said authentic or honest, either one. It's basically the same thing. Which, by the way, doesn't mean. So on the left, when they complain about the podcasting world and they say, "Oh, there's misinformation. Not everything these people say is true. They say things that aren't true sometimes." Well, yeah, of course. Like anyone who's a fan of podcasts, no one thinks that everything you hear there is true necessarily. I mean, people can be mistaken. We can have opinions that aren't true. We could be wrong about stuff. Of course, like no one is right all the time. But people aren't listening because they think that everything they hear is automatically true just because someone like me says it. No, they think it's honest. So like, even if we're wrong, we're wrong. We are sincerely wrong. We're just wrong because we're mistaken. We're not wrong because we're pretending to believe something that we don't. So you know what? Here is the only real version that I can imagine of like what could dark woke actually be? Maybe this. Maybe dark woke is Jasmine Crockett, let's say, coming out and saying, "Hey, you know what? I actually just hate white people. Okay? Let me be real with you. I don't like white people. I want policies that punish white people. I want to elevate my people over them because I think they deserve it." And that's just what I think. Now, you could say she's kind of already said that, but she hasn't actually directly said that. Maybe that could be kind of a dark woke. That's the only thing that could maybe qualify as dark woke. That's the only thing that could maybe be sort of what they're going for. Because it's honest. Like, that is what Jasmine Crockett actually believes. So if she came out and said that, I would strenuously object to it on the merits, but I would give her credit for being honest. I would say, okay, well, at least she's being honest. At least you're being honest finally. That's progress. So it would be an honest articulation of left-wing racial ideology. And you know what? Unfortunately, it would probably resonate with a certain portion of the country. There'd be a certain portion of the country that would say, yeah, finally, I feel the same way. And so I guess that's sort of the woke answer to right-wing authenticity. The woke answer to right-wing authenticity is left-wing authenticity. It's where you come out and just say what you really believe. But the problem is that they won't do that because what they really believe in so many cases is just awful. Okay, like what Jasmine Crockett really believes about race in America, she just hates white people. She's there may be some people that resonates with, but it's going to be a minority of the electorate, I guarantee you that. So she won't say it. What would be the dark woke version of approaching, say, an issue like abortion? It's not coming out with this, oh, I believe in reproductive rights and women making choices. No, the dark woke version, the authentic version, would be coming out if they just come out and said, you know what? Yeah, we use the word fetus, but really it's a baby. Of course it's a baby. It's a living human being. Obviously it is. But I just don't care about babies in the womb. I just don't care about them. And I think it's okay to kill them. Flat out. That's what I think. Again, you hear that a little bit. Like there are some people on the left who have come close to that line, but you're never going to hear. No Democrat politician will ever come out and say that, even though it's what they actually think. And that would be the... So go ahead. I'd like to see Democrats do that. You know, on the right, we're pretty honest about what we think. So on the left, just be honest. Just come out and say what you really think about all this stuff. Let's just put it on the table. Let's put it all on the table. And then we can have some real arguments, real debates in this country where everyone is actually being real and honest about what they really think. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.